All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the SD40-2 show. Right. This is the TSG Multimedia video podcast for July 1st, 2016. This is John sitting with
Dan.
And like I said, it's the SD40-2 show.
Yeah, this can't get rid of this thing, right? Well, last time worked on the dynamic brake section.
Mm-hmm.
Fitted some fan bases to that, and also replaced one of the grills. It's actually on the other side of the model over here because it was damaged, and I also did some work on the sill.
Yep.
So there's not necessarily a specific order that some stuff has to be done in. However, I think it might be a good time to start assembling some of the parts toward the front of the engine, because there's not going to be any more major surgery done up in this area, and I'd really like to strengthen this since there's only just these two thin pieces of plastic holding this right now.
Yeah, it seems like a braking hazard.
Yeah, so maybe we can kind of do some of the work on the top and in the front.
All right.
Assemble it.
Hey, let's get the show on the road.
Yeah. So I think at this point I can go ahead and put the inertial filter hatch on.
Oh, I remember when you cut that thing off.
Yeah, so this is the replacement, and this is Canon part 1353, by the way. Now the instructions in the Canon that came with the Canon part say something about it should be mounted slightly forward of the engine compartment. I'm not sure what they're talking about, because in photos that I've looked at showing the roofs of SD40-2s, it's pretty much just like this, with this even with the rear edge of the grills.
Right.
So that's the way I'm going to do it, because I'm going to go for photos over.
Yeah, we're working off of the photos, so that if that's how it looks on the majority of them, then...
Yeah, I think that's how all of them that I've seen are like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. So the main thing is just to make sure it's lined up really well. And
you want to make sure it's straight, right?
Yeah, one thing you can do is like put a straight edge here, and, that way you make sure to get it right even with the edge.
Yeah.
So one nice thing, since I cut a hole in the top of the model, is I can glue this from the inside for the most part.
Oh, right. Then there's less junk on the outside to have to worry about weathering or covering up or whatever, huh?
Right. Well, this liquid cement is pretty forgiving as long as you don't disturb it after you put it on. It will usually dry flat. It may leave a slight sheen on the plastic.
Yeah.
But that can be sanded off, or if you ignore it, it probably won't show when it's painted anyway.
Mm-hmm.
This part has some little dimples in the top where you're supposed to drill for lift ring holes.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that now.
Sure. Probably easier to do it while the plastic is still bare, right? Because if you paint it, it's going to be thicker.
Well, I like to do as much detailing as I can before the paint anyway.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as getting stuff under the paint, because it will just look more even when the model is finished. This is a number 78 drill bit, by the way. I was about to say we could glue the dynamic brake hatch on, but I noticed that there's this little molding seam right here. I'm going to get rid of that first.
Yeah, it's just over the edge just a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Was it obstructing it, or?
Well, it's just, this is a lot easier to sand off with the other part not on yet.
Yeah.
So just get rid of that. Okay, so I took care of that. And now we can go ahead and install the dynamic brake hatch. Should just snap in.
Oh, so it is supposed to snap.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes.
There it goes.
I heard it.
Yeah. Now I am going to glue it also, just to make sure that it's secure. Also because sometimes I pick my engines up here.
Oh, right. The last thing you want to do is have the pick up the fans
and have it come off. Yeah.
Nice. That's a lot of pieces, Dan.
Yeah, this is the Canon -2 cab subbase kit. This is part number 1202. It actually includes enough material to build 2 subbases. We only need 1, so we can get rid of one of these here. Now, the thing about these is they come with a bunch of different doors.
Oh.
So you really have to study the photos of the particular engine you're modeling to see which set of doors you need. And it looks like for Santa Fe 5126, I need these 2 here, which are just these more plain doors.
Uh-huh.
And these 2 here, which is, I think these are the battery box covers, but these are the ones that have a ridge going down the middle, and that's what matches the photos that I have of the real engine.
What's the stuff on the left of the screen there?
This?
Yeah.
This is the top. Each of these forms like a little box. So this is like...
Oh, right. The cab sits on top of this stuff.
Right. So
Got it.
The cab sits here. This will be the engineer's side. This will be the fireman's side.
Right.
And these doors attach to the sides of these parts.
Right.
And then this is the front and back pieces here.
Yeah.
So, and then there's some steps.
Okay.
So I've cut out the main parts, and one of these has a grab iron, and it's already pre-dimpled with holes to drill. So I'm going to go ahead and do that before I start putting things together, because it's easier to do it now. I don't know if this shows up on camera, but these parts have little numbers on the back.
Okay, yeah.
And when you're building these little boxes, parts 1, 2, and 3 go together, and 4, 5, and 6 go together.
Oh, so you're just building one side at a time then, huh?
Right. The piece that goes in the back on the fireman's side has this little thing that sticks up.
Uh-huh.
And it goes like that.
Oh, then you just have to glue the pieces together?
Right.
Okay.
Got to glue them together. And
Well,
I use liquid styrene cement for all of these joints.
why don't you glue them together? We'll take a look at it when they're all pieced together.
Okay. So this is the sub-bases for both sides without the doors on yet.
Oh, so the doors actually stick to these things?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see that next, huh?
Yeah. These doors have little ridges on the back, like right here,
Right.
that fit against the inside, against the inside of this part.
Yep.
And so it's really, they only go together one way. And then this little piece here is a support, because that's where the seam is. So you have this door, which is actually going to be under the cab, and then the battery box, which is up here, like that. Now, sometimes I like to assemble these on a flat surface to make sure that I get everything nice and straight.
Right.
So these are the completed assemblies. This is the engineer's side. That's the fireman's side.
Can we bring the shell in? I just want to see.
Yeah, so they'll fit right here.
Okay.
And then this one goes this way.
Got it. Yeah. So is it time to glue them on, or?
No, I want to wait till I build the cab, because I want to make sure that everything fits.
It has to fit square.
Right.
Yeah. Got it.
And I want to make sure all the seams are tight and everything.
Right.
So if I need to do any filing or anything like that.
Yeah. No, that's right. And I remember seeing at various times cabs detached like that, probably for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before I call these done, I want to add just a couple more parts to the front.
Oh, okay.
So this is a grab iron from Tichy, and I've cut the little prongs in the back shorter, and I'm just going to insert this in the holes that I drilled in that part earlier. I'll glue it from the back with some CA type glue once I get it in position. I'm going to install one of these steps. These are really fragile, so you got to be really careful cutting them out. There's not really enough room for me to get my sprue nippers in there, so I'm going to have to just use a knife.
Oh, wow. Be careful.
Yeah, so I'm actually just going to...
What, do you score it first?
I'm going to score it until I cut through it, because the trouble is if you just press down, sometimes you just break the step.
Yeah.
So this is kind of tedious, but, I won't break them that way.
It's less tedious than having to do it with another one.
Right, because I need all three of these, so I really don't want to break any of them. So now that I've cut it out and it's on a flat surface, I can use my knife to trim off the little nubs that are on it.
Oh, from where it attached onto the tree thing?
Right. So there's one of these on the fireman's side in the front, and there's two of these that go on the engineer's side in the back. I'm going to leave those off until after the model's painted. But this one here I'm going to put on now.
And what's the reason for that?
Because the ones in the back would make it really difficult to paint if you put them on first.
Okay.
This one's a little more exposed, so it's not such a problem.
Yeah.
And it glues right on top of these little ridges right like that. So now the sub-base pieces are completed, and we can move on to the cab. This is the Canon -2 cab kit. It's part number 1501, and it includes the roof, sides, 2 different cab faces. One has the L-shaped engineer's window that SP used a lot.
Yes.
Won't need that for a Santa Fe engine. The number boards, doors, the back of the cab, and cab windows, and then also drip railings and some door handles, and also laser cut windows.
No sunshades.
No, it doesn't include the sunshades, but I'll add those later.
And windshield wipers, right?
No, none of that.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm going to do right now is just assemble the basic components of the cab. So I usually like to start these kits by assembling the doors. And I'm going to stab this little door handle very carefully with my knife. Not too hard because I don't want to make a big hole in it.
Yeah, it could split or something, huh?
Yeah, there's a little hole in the back of this thing, and there's a little knob on the door, and this fits over it. And then I'm just going to glue it with some liquid styrene cement.
I can't believe how small that part is. Like, it seems to me like, why didn't they just cast that on, and
because
then you could just dab it with a little silver paint or something?
It's a separate part because the door handle actually sticks out. I got a little bit much glue, but it just evaporated, and it'll be okay. So now that I've got the door ready, I'm going to glue it in place. They leave the door separate in case you wanted to put it in the open position.
Yeah, I could see that.
The thing is, to do that, you have to take these little hinges and bend them back, and then the idea is you glue it on, like here somehow.
Yeah.
I tried that once, and I couldn't keep the doors on the engine for more than 5 minutes without them falling off.
Yeah.
So ever since then, I've just glued them in place.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do here.
Do you know what probably would work is, but it wouldn't be really prototypically accurate, is to glue it using the bottom on the deck.
Oh yeah,
and the side where the hinges are.
Yeah. But these actually are raised a little bit.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is you'd have more surface to do it with, or maybe even to put a little. You know how you sometimes reinforce things with styrene?
Yeah.
You could put just a little piece of styrene at the end of the thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So
just an idea.
As you can see, the door stays put on its own fairly well. So I'm just going to glue it on the back now with some liquid styrene cement.
So, what if there's a fire in the cab and the guys have to get out?
Oh, that's just too bad.
They'll have to jump out the windows.
Yeah. So before I start assembling the parts, I want to drill holes for windshield wipers.
Oh, good idea.
And there are little raised nubs above each of the windows, which marks the location.
Right.
So I'm going to use a number 78 drill and just drill through those areas.
I was wondering why you put that other piece of plastic behind that.
Yeah, this is just a scrap of 040 styrene I'm using for backing.
Yeah. So that 78, that hole's going to be big enough after you paint and everything?
It should be. I can always ream it out, but it's
that's true.
It's better to drill it before you paint it.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, if nothing else, it'll maintain the marks where the windshield wipers go.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like to start assembling these from the front, and at the edge of the roof, there's a little channel.
Yep.
And the cab face just fits into that.
Oh, look at that. So does the back of the cab fit the same way?
Similar. It's a little different because there's actually an overhang on a -2 cab on the back.
Mm-hmm.
If you use the Canon cab for the pre-2 units, it's different because those had a flush fit like the front. I'm just going to get some glue on the back of this here.
Yeah, you just have to make sure it's at a 90-degree angle, right?
Right.
Well, that's got to be hard, though, sometimes.
Yeah. Well, one thing I like about the liquid styrene cement is it does give you a little time to work. It's not quite instant.
Yeah, plus, besides that, I mean, when you put all the pieces together, those sides will push on it a little bit.
Right. Anyway, once I get the front on, then I'll start with the sides. And the thing that's important to remember about the sides is that the little flag holder thing goes toward the front.
Okay.
Okay, so the other side's pretty much the same thing. There's a little channel here, and there's a little channel in the front.
Mm-hmm.
So this fits just like this. This is a very well engineered part, and generally the pieces fit really well and very tight.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Looks like there's very minimal
Oops.
amount of shifting, really.
That was bad. That's okay, though. I'm just going to let that dry. If I get glue on the outside like that, I just leave it alone, and when it's dry, I can sand it a little bit, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
If you start messing with it, it can mar the plastic, but if you just leave it alone, it usually is okay.
Oh, right, because this is the kind of glue that melts it, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the best thing to do if you get a little blob on the outside is just don't touch it until it's
Yeah.
fully dry. Whoops.
Yeah, because it'll just be a hard sort of bubble afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the back, once the rest is assembled, there's a little channel around both sides and the sides of the roof, and then the middle is solid, and the back has a notch in the middle, and then the sides fit into this channel, so it should just drop right in here.
Yeah, you weren't kidding that. It really is engineered well. I mean, it would be hard to mess it up.
Yeah, the main thing is just to make sure you glue it neatly and everything, so just hold it together and then put some glue on the inside. So I already sanded off that little spot where I got some glue on the outside.
The blob.
Yeah, just using some 400 grit paper, and when it's painted, you'll never even know anything happened. I like to sand the front, especially up here, so that there's no seam.
Oh, right.
Especially on this side. On the Dash 2 units, there's a little extra piece that goes right here, which is going to cover that seam.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, I will sand. A lot of times you don't even need to fill this with any putty because the joints are so tight.
Right, which goes to the engineering of it.
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to go with the number board assembly. You can glue it on now, or you can leave it off until after the model's painted. Advantage to glue it on now, it usually looks a little better because the fit and finish tends to be better.
Yeah.
Advantage to waiting is that when it comes time to actually stick in the number boards, because I'm not going to do that yet.
A lot easier, huh?
It's a lot easier with it off. But being a glutton for punishment, I think I'll just go ahead and glue it on now.
Well, I mean, theoretically, though, too, you could glue it on, but your finish will change, though. But I was going to say, paint it with it on, and then if you absolutely had to, you could take it off to put the number boards in, right?
Well, I don't want to try to do it, but
just saying.
Anyway, there's little pins on the back that fit into these little holes up here, and we don't need to worry about the light because this is a locomotive with the headlight lowered. So this little cover plate is actually correct for this engine.
Oh, perfect.
So this little tiny piece is only used on Dash 2 cabs, and it goes right kind of on the edge of the roof, right about there.
Yeah, you mentioned this before.
Yeah. So I have to glue that in place. Okay, so I've glued the sub bases to the cab, and now I'm just going to test fit it. It's a good idea to do this with the model on the chassis so that it keeps the sill straight.
Oh, right.
And this little notch in the top of the body here fits under the...
There's a little lip there, huh?
There's a little lip there, so it should just fit in there. And it looks like it's a nice tight fit.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, painting considerations are something to think about when putting one of these together. Now, on the Santa Fe engine, because of the war bonnet scheme, it's not going to make too much difference, so I'll probably just go ahead and glue the cab on. If it was, for example, a Chicago Northwestern, where the cab is green and the body is yellow, it might actually be better to leave the cab off until after you've painted it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Just easier to mask. But in this case, I think just for the sake of having some better structure here, I'm just going to glue the whole thing together.
Okay.
And that's probably a good place to leave it for this podcast. And as it actually got quite a bit done, it's starting to look like a locomotive again.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that'll do it for this video podcast. We will be back on August 1st with our next one. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks.